I'm Nathaniel Rutan. I've been breeding old Boston Bulldogs for many, many years. I remember when I was about 7 years old, my dad was starting to, um, he had decided to have a bulldog that you could carry under your arm that was tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at this point we've succeeded in that. That's a big discussion of argument to
Mm-hmm.
some extent. Um, in all reality, my dad created the breed. There was no old Boston Bulldog before my dad started breeding old Boston Bulldogs.
Okay.
Um, from my perspective, uh, if it's just a big Boston Terrier, it's still a Boston Terrier.
Okay.
It was a recreation of what the Boston Terrier would have been originally,
Okay.
where they still had the ability to do work, um, as in catch dogs, what needs you, guard protection work. And I know there are Boston Terriers out there. Don't get me wrong. I know there are Boston Terriers out there that are fairly impressive. And I'm friends with a guy on Facebook who has a male Boston Terrier. I can't remember his name. That is just crazy. Uh, but the ones that I'm producing are big. I say big. We're talking 25 to 45 pounds is
Uh-huh.
what my dad wrote as the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 25 to 45 pounds and should be able to accomplish any task put before
Mm-hmm.
them.
So genetically, what is their makeup?
Yeah, I don't go into that.
Okay.
Uh, it's one of the things that's like I've said it to a couple other people. It's like a secret recipe. If you give
Okay.
it to everybody, is it a secret anymore?
Right.
There are people out there that are trying to do their own thing. I've talked to a few, and really what people are trying to do is create something that is really a big Boston Terrier. They want
Mm-hmm.
them to get along with everything and be um, pets. And don't get me wrong, my dogs make great pets, but my
Mm-hmm.
dogs, first and foremost, are a functional dog.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
you.
breed for function above all else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every dog that's on my yard um, has either worked on coons, groundhogs. Uh, my dogs, like I said, first and foremost, are functionable working bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that nothing in the world is in the realm of a pit bull terrier.
Okay.
I mean, I'm honest about it. I'm not the guy who's going to say my dogs are what a pit bull is. Pit
Mm-hmm.
bulls were created for a purpose, and I'm not talking the blue ones. I'm not talking the
Mm-hmm.
dogs that people are breeding today. I'm talking the original style of pit bull is one and only for function.
Mm-hmm.
My dad wrote a story. I say story, true story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's been gone since '96, and while I was in the military, he got some half wild hogs and had a female named uh, shoot. It's been too many years ago. I want to say speculation, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not right. And one of the hogs got loose, and the dog got loose, and they uh, literally killed each other.
Huh.
So I mean, when I say my dogs work, they are a working breed for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And me and a cousin of mine killed oh 50 or 60 coons out of a barn one year out in a rural area of Ohio. And I mean, no guns. It's I see these people using guns and hunting and stuff. And don't get me wrong, gun hunting is fine, but when you're doing barn work, uh, let the dogs work. Absolutely. And every dog at some point served a purpose.
Yeah.
And the ones that are leaving the purpose that they served are the ones that people are having issues with.
Mm-hmm.
So every dog had a purpose, and once
Mm-hmm.
their purpose is gone, how does that dog continue to function as a, I mean, they function as pets, don't get me wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
some dogs are not meant to be solely pets. And people, I mean, and I'm honest with everybody. People that like me. People that don't like me don't like me. They either want a working dog or they don't. I
Okay.
mean, I also guarantee every puppy I sell for life against any genetic problem with a replacement puppy.
Okay.
I don't have genetic issues in my dogs. Back in the early 80s,
In the early 80s. Wow.
yeah, he started registering them, I think, around 80, 89, 88, 89. I mean, he had paper handwritten stuff, but I mean, started the National Dog Registry for rare breeds and working dogs.
Okay.
And I think it was late 80s, maybe
Mm-hmm.
early 90s. I can't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it was easier to keep track of what you were breeding and line up the pedigrees and go for things that you wanted to go for traits you wanted versus traits that you might want to eliminate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guy. I don't care what the height is. I don't care how tall a dog is. I try to stick to the 25 to 45 pound range. I've had a couple dogs go under 25 pounds. You don't dispose of that dog. I mean, if that dog's a working dog, you breed it to a larger dog. I like the 45-pound top out. I've got a male here now that weighs about 55 pounds. You breed him to smaller females. You produce, because you don't want to eliminate something that you really like because
Mm-hmm.
of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you try to stick to a standard. I personally don't like tricolor dogs.
Okay.
I get tricolor dogs every once in a while. One of the best females I ever had was a dog named Trinity. Um, she was tricolor. Uh, I just everybody's like loving on the tries. I'm not a tri guy. I don't
Mm.
like tricolor. First thing my wife said when I brought her home was, "Why'd you go get a beagle?" I
Okay.
mean, I mean, and she knew how I felt about tricolor dogs, but this specific dog was crazy drive, ability, personality. She had the whole enchilada.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
I look at what I like in a dog and I use that specific trait and go to another dog that might have that same trait, and if it and most of the time I'm right on what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the I've been wrong a few times.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. Uh, I do go for. One of my main things is drive. I want the ability to be there. I
Mm-hmm.
had a female that really she wanted to do it, but she just didn't have the ability. She
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't able to com- complete the task. But if I took her to a male that had the ability, it produced dogs that had the ability that were really phenomenal dogs.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few. There's a guy named Mike McDaniel out in Washington State. He's
Yeah.
every dog he's got came from me. He's a really good guy. Um, I'm working on some others. There's a kid named Paris. I've known him since he was 16. I call him a kid. He's no longer a kid. He's in his 30s now.
Right.
He's purchased multiple dogs off me over the years.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has a son to Trinity now. Um, uh, but he's not breeding right now. I mean, he's just a dog lover,
Mm-hmm.
and I I really would like to have a few more partners. It always makes life easier on me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
because then I can go out to other people and bring dogs back that I know where they come from. I know what the genetics behind them are, and it's it's tough if you don't have partners.
Yeah, the gene pool kind of gets a little small. Is that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing is that I am a firm believer in is if you see something you don't like, don't do that breeding again. I don't
Okay.
care if it's the best looking dogs in the world. If they come out if they produce out phenomenal looks and they don't have the ability to do the task at hand, you're defeating the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I
Uh-huh.
also believe with all my heart that if you are breeding for function, the looks will come. You will
Okay.
get the look that you want. You're
Yeah,
not going
that
to have a yard full of dogs that don't look like what you want.
right.
I mean, there was a guy in Virginia named Jim Thorpe. He's passed away a few years ago now.
Uh-huh.
That all his dogs came from me.
Okay.
But if you went from my yard to his yard, the look was completely different
Okay.
because he bred for what he wanted and I bred for what I wanted. So you're and that's the great thing in my opinion with the breed is
Uh-huh.
you can have a look that you prefer and you can get that look just by breeding what you like.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to look exactly like the dogs on my yard
Okay.
as long as the function's there.
Okay.
To me, personal, I mean,
Right.
obviously, to some people, function means nothing. To me, function means everything.
Right.
Absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
the house dogs that I've had over the years, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
um, they normally latch onto the family more so. Like my working dogs, my outside hunting dogs, I do not want them to be at all man aggressive. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not a trait I look for.
Mm-hmm.
The house dogs, though, once they've moved into your house and they become your house dog, they naturally become protective of the house and of the people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a normal function.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's a plus. And I honestly, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that as time goes on, the world we live in today goes back to a working dog world
Mm-hmm.
instead of leaning toward the I'm trying to figure out how to say this and be I'm not a very politically correct guy, I'm going to tell you. Um, uh, away I would much rather see the world lean away from these uh, pet only dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would much rather see them go back to a working ability dog
Mm-hmm.
because I mean I talk to people all the time who have dogs that are popping up with cancer. Not that cancer can't happen in any dog, but they're
Mm-hmm.
popping up with cancer at 3 years old.
Right.
They're it got hip dysplasia at 10 months old. They got whatever. I mean, essentially, you're looking at dogs that are being bred for nothing but looks. You're looking at health defects popping up because they're not breeding for the health of the dog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of the questions I get when I get calls, because I tell everybody I got working dogs. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
questions I get are, do they make good house dogs? And the answer to that is absolutely. They make great house dogs. They just need a little more exercise than the normal run of the mill bulldog. They got to have an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I always tell people is if you have a male bulldog already or male anything, get a female. Don't
Mm-hmm.
put yourself in that situation. Uh, a lot of people don't listen, but that's on them at that point. But I
Mm-hmm.
tell everybody, don't have two males in your house. Don't have two females in your house. You're setting yourself up for a situation.
Mm-hmm.
The and on that, I mean, I don't live in a mansion. I got a 1,500 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in all reality, I mean, I got a fenced in front yard, don't get me wrong. But I mean, my dogs really get enough exercise right here in my house. I mean, if they get antsy, they tuck their butts and they take off running and run around the house and
Right.
come back and lay down for 20 minutes or whatever. But these dogs make great family pets.
Uh-huh.
I just say the people who are breeding them need to breed for the ability.
Right.
If you're not breeding them, they're a great family pet. Doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter. They got the ability to do what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have the opportunity to push forward and continue to have a true working dog
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to walk down the street and everybody's going to go, what is that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, and I don't know how to word this either. Like I said, I'm not a great big politically correct guy, but they're not so huge that they're going to drag you down the road. And they're
Mm-hmm.
not so little that you're going to be embarrassed to walk that dog.
Right, right.
I mean, I talk to a lot of people and I always tell them, just enjoy your dog. Enjoy your bulldog. I also tell people, do not take them to dog parks. I don't care what kind of dog you have. In my opinion, taking any dog, any bulldog to a dog park is
Mm-hmm.
setting that dog up for failure.
Okay. Okay.
Because you're going to have that lab, you're going to have that whatever that thinks it's boss of the dog park. It's going to come running over because your bulldog's 45 pounds, he's 100 pounds, or whatever he is.
Right.
And he's going to say, I'm telling your bulldog what to do. And your bulldog's going to go, you're joking, right?
Right.
I don't care what you weigh. You ain't telling me what to do.
Right.
And then you have an issue.
Right.
I am big on socialization. Huge. I just got a dog back from a house that he had never had a leash on. He had lived there with the same 4 dogs, same family members
Mm-hmm.
his whole life, and no socialization.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good with dogs, but he is very standoffish of people because he had no socialization. I tell everybody, as soon as you get them, start socializing.
Mm-hmm.
Get them used to people. Get them to know their boundaries. Anything they do, and this is another thing I tell people, anything they do that's cute at 4 months old or 3 months old that ain't going to be cute when they weigh 45 pounds, don't let them do,
Right.
because it turns into an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowing them to do, it's just like a child. Anything you let your child do when they're a kid, they're going to do the same thing when they become an adult because it wasn't bad when they're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You let a bulldog get away with something as a baby, he's going to think it's okay as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can only tell people so much,
Mm-hmm.
and they're either going to listen or they're not. I'm a pretty bold guy,
Yeah.
but I do get the people that say this was not what I anticipated. Um, it's just one of them things where until you've had one, it's really hard to explain to you
Mm-hmm.
what the ability they have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these dogs are endless ability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a guy send me a video of his dog climbing a tree after a squirrel, and I mean, and people call me, and my dog just ran down rabbits. I mean, crazy stuff that you don't anticipate that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And but nobody's mad about it. They're just like, my gosh, I had no idea this dog could do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's really some of the stories I get are, I mean, they're even new to me. I mean, things I haven't seen happen. And I'm like, my gosh, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like last year, the year before, um, there's a male. He was on a working hog farm, and 17 years old, and they had to have him put to sleep on a working hog farm. This dog worked his whole entire life. Well, I say whole entire life, probably from about a year old on. If a
Mm-hmm.
hog got loose, he caught the hog, kept rodents down, kept coons out, the whole 9 yards for 17 years.
Wow.
I ain't saying
Wow.
that at the end. I ain't saying at the end he did the same thing, but that's pretty
Yeah.
dang good.
Boston.
I always say the harder they work, the less the life expectancy. But that one there stayed 17 years on a working
Yeah.
hog farm. I mean, I I'm seeing anything from 12 to 17 years on average. Uh, I don't see a whole lot less than that.
That's good.
I did a little bit of weight pull.
Okay.
Um,
I was just gonna. Yeah.
few years. It's been, I say a few years ago. It's probably been 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I had a little. She was 10 or 11 months old, so it didn't count. She was about 28 pounds, and she pulled over 700 pounds first time in a
Wow.
harness. Um, I mean, really, and there's another girl. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head, so I do apologize. But she does fly ball with hers.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think. There are a couple different people that do different things. Uh, I can't keep up with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I do enjoy watching the stuff. It's just one of them things where to do that kind of thing, you got to keep that dog focused.
Mm-hmm.
And but for the most part, I mean, like I said, males don't get along with males, females don't get along with females for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. I've seen it work, but your best the thing I tell people is your best bet is to, if you have a pet at home, get a different opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I have my ground dog that I have right now is a Jag Terrier, and
Okay.
I like
Okay.
him quite a bit. He's a pretty good dog. They got a really good nose on them. They're smart dog. Um, really smart dog. Um, I just I'm a bulldog guy. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it boils down to. I get my ground dogs to for ground work,
Mm-hmm.
and really they work out really well. Jags especially, they're mine are the one I got. He's very non-dog aggressive, so he works out really well. Unless
Mm-hmm.
you've got a really pushy male bulldog, and
Mm.
then you just know you can't work them together.
Right.
There's a whole lot of people out there I respect. I mean, I completely 100% respect Velma Moore and what she's doing. We're not going the same direction, but I do respect what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
I'm just not the best guy with names. And I'm trying. I could see the girl's face. I can't think of her name. It's a girl
Mm-hmm.
in Indiana. I respect what she's doing. Mike McDaniel. I mean, he's going the same direction I am. I respect what he's doing. Um, uh, I just honestly, I mean, I wish we could all come together
Mm-hmm.
and work for a common goal. Uh, but I'm not gonna. I mean, it's like the leopard can't change his spots. I'm a redneck, buddy. I can't change the way I'm gonna be, and I am 100% firm in raising and working my bulldogs.
Mm-hmm. And so there's other people that are kind of moving away from that. Is that kind of what you're alluding
Well, I
to?
mean, I'm not saying they're moving away from it. I'm just saying that there are people out there who uh, have Boston Bulldogs, but they're not necessarily working dogs.
Okay.
And I say Boston Bulldogs, it's it's different. It's not the same. They're not. We're not breeding the same thing.
Right. Right.
Came originated the old Boston Bulldog because he wanted a bulldog that wasn't going to bring the bad publicity that was coming down on the pit bull. I enjoy what I do. I like what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And there ain't nobody in the world ever gonna tell anybody that I ever lied to them, because if you ask me a question, I give you an answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I don't want to answer it, then I tell you no, but I didn't lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my thing is I mean, even with everything that goes on, I I like the people that I talk to. I like the people that are breeding the dogs. We just don't have the same vision. My vision wholeheartedly is to have working dogs,
Mm-hmm.
ability over everything else.
Right.
And that's what the old Boston Bulldog was created for, was the ability over all else.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and with that ability, with that function, become you get the form, you get uh, the family pet, you get everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to worry about all the health issues that go along with breeding to a set standard. And I mean, obviously, there's a standard, but not a rigid standard, I should say.
Right.
It kind of goes. You said you have an English bulldog. He's healthy, or you know what I mean. He's
Healthy for
fit.
an
He's
English.
trim. Yeah, but if you look at an English bulldog back, I want to say even 40 years ago, the English bulldog 40 years ago, uh, some of them, I'm not going to say all, but some of them could still free welt. Some of them could free breed. Don't get me wrong, there's one in a million now that can still free welt. There's one in a million now that can free breed. But if you continue to breed for that tight look, in 40 years from now, what will you have? You're going to have zero free breeding, zero free whelping. And that's my thing. If you take the old Boston Bulldog as it is today and start breeding to a rigid standard, you're going to decline the health. You're going to you're going to forfeit health for looks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you forfeit health for looks, in 80 years, I'm just throwing out a number. In 80 years, we have Boston Terriers again.
Mm-hmm.
They might have a little bit of size on them. I've seen a Boston Terrier. I won't say a. I've seen a Boston Terrier in my life, AKC registered, that weighed 50 pounds.
Wow.
He was the greatest looking Boston Terrier I've ever seen. There's another one on a board that was on there, I think, yesterday or today. Weighs 40 pounds. He's a great looking Boston Terrier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take him back to another Boston Terrier that looks just like him, but they both come off of standard Boston Terriers, the pups that come off those two have got to go back to looking like standard Boston Terriers,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the genes predict.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, he's also looking at dogs that produce those dogs.
Right.
And that's like, I mean, I can sit back and look at dogs that produce dogs that produce dogs that produce dogs and say, man, that should line up really well
Mm-hmm.
and should produce exactly what I want. And that's how he's coming up with his.
Right.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm very upfront about that. If there's a genetic issue ever, something's coming out of the breeding program.
Right.
For I bred old English bulldogs for a couple years, and I got some cleft palates,
Mm-hmm.
and eliminated the one dog from the breeding program. Never got another cleft palate.
Wow.
If you do the right thing, you're going to produce healthy dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do the right thing and breed healthy dog to healthy dog. You can't slip up and say, well, this dog here looks really good. Even though he's got this going on and this going on, I'm still going to use him.
Mm-hmm.
If he's got those things going on, he obviously there's an issue somewhere. genetically. I've had I think I had a C-section. I'm trying to think. It's been 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what that was the female had 9 puppies in her. One of them got turned sideways.
Mm.
I asked the vet, I said, should I take her out of the breeding program? The vet said she had 9 puppies. She's 28 pounds and 9 puppies. She said, I wouldn't take her out of the breeding program yet. Try her one more time. I did breed her again. And I mean, 28-pound dog, bred her to one of my larger males because I didn't want to bring my size down. She free whelped pups. So she just had too many puppies in her.
Okay.
Now, if she'd had to have a C-section again, she would have been removed from the breeding program.
Mm-hmm. How many litters a year do you normally produce?
2 to 3
2
is
to 3.
normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on. Go for
I was
it.
going to say, and I haven't had any females for a few years, female puppies. So
Oh
there's
wow.
been a pretty good waiting list on females.
Okay. Huh. So you live in Ohio, so it probably gets pretty cold.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How do they? I ask this of everybody, just because I have a bulldog, and weather is something that I have to be cognizant of when he goes outside, whether it's cold or hot. Do they withstand the cold pretty well?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you bed them down good with straw. You
Mm-hmm.
feed a little more in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
They do well. They do
Mm-hmm.
well. No temperature issues. And I mean, if you get one that's a little older, I mean, you got to take a little better care of them. You got to make sure they're staying warmer.
Yeah.
I have no trouble in the summer times at all. I mean, they're out there running and chasing and doing
Mm-hmm.
bulldog things.
Awesome.
I just thoroughly think that everybody needs to enjoy their dogs, work their dogs, some sort of work with the dog,
Mm-hmm.
spend time with the dog. Sitting on the couch is great, but the dog enjoys getting out and having some fun.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that fun be chasing a rope or whatever it is, um, you know, keep them busy. A busy dog, and that's I guess that will be something else I would like to say. I see all these people posting up about dogs being skinny and dogs being overweight, fat. An obese dog is not as healthy as a lean dog. And I'm not talking skinny. I'm talking lean. I'm talking healthy
Mm-hmm.
weight. Um, but I mean, I hear from a friend of mine in Maryland how if he's got the back 2 ribs of a dog showing, they're talking about the dog emaciated or whatever. That's not an emaciated dog. That's a dog that's actually in shape. A dog that can actually go out and function. I like a high protein, low or high fat content dog food in the wintertime. I mean, I where I live obviously determines what I feed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the cold weather up here, you got to keep dogs with weight. I mean, they can't lose weight. They lose weight, they shiver it off, they whatever. You can't have that. So, I mean, I'm feeding a retriever. I think it's 2715. I can't remember right offhand, but it's 2715, I believe. And but you got to keep dogs with weight on them in the wintertime to
Mm-hmm.
make. I mean, well, all year long, but you don't have to focus on it as much in the summertime because in the summertime they're not going to get too cold. Uh, but I am a firm believer in you adjust your food to your dog.
Okay.
And people, if a dog gets lean, add a little food. If a dog gets fat, cut back on a little food.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think fat dog, happy dog. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
that's not true. That's like me. I'm 260 pounds. I'm not healthy. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
am, but I'm not. I have issues because of my weight.
Yeah.
I started dropping weight. My blood pressure went down.
Yeah.
Uh, hopefully my sugar is going down. Hopefully
Yeah.
everything's going down. But
Yeah.
I weighed 160 pounds when I went in the military. I was
Right.
healthy.
Right.
So a dog that should weigh 45 pounds weighing 65 pounds is
Mm-hmm.
not a healthy dog.
Yeah.
And I try to explain that to people all the time. I mean, I get calls from people, and some of them might even be watching this. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
if you got a normally, if you got a 55-pound old Boston Bulldog, he can shave some pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He could lose roughly 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
and and I also tell people now, it used to be I didn't have to say this, but now I tell people, if you let that dog lay on the couch all day long and it comes from me, it's going to be a 60-pound dog. If that
Yeah.
dog's out doing something, he ain't going to weigh 60 pounds.
Right. Right.
I mean, like I said, I got one here that's 55 pounds. And when I say 55 pounds, I mean he's 55 pounds lean. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's an in-shape dog at 55 pounds. If he was at somebody else's house, I mean, crap, what would he weigh? 70 pounds? I
Right.
mean, but he wouldn't be a healthy weight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people aren't understanding is they're putting all these dogs out there at fat weights. And that's not healthy for your dog. And I know I'm not just talking about old Boston Bulldogs. I'm talking in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it kills me to see these people posting this stuff up about if your dog looks like this, he's underfed or undernourished or he's emaciated. Most of the time the dog don't look bad. The dog looks healthy. The dog looks
Mm.
happy. The dog looks like he's in shape.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did that for a while.
Okay.
And the dogs looked phenomenal. But my females quit coming in heat. I had
Okay.
no puppies for 2 years.
Wow.
So, and I don't know if I did it wrong. Dogs look good, but I don't know if I did it wrong or what I was doing. And I'll be honest, I went back to the kibble. Uh, and almost immediately every female came in heat. And I, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people. It did not work for me. It was for me anyway. It was way cheaper.
Was it cheaper? Okay.
Oh, it was dirt cheap. I was paying 44 cents a pound. And
Mm-hmm.
well, no, hold on. That's not right. 44 cents a pound is about what I'm paying now. Anyway, it was way cheaper. And I mean, a big dog would eat about the size of my fist a day,
Okay.
and that's it. I mean, and they literally were hog fat. So I was always trying to cut them back because they were packing it on. They couldn't eat. And they were they were heavier than I like to see them, especially
Mm-hmm.
in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was way cheaper. I will tell you. I mean, like
Okay.
I'm thinking it was half the price or more
Wow. See,
cheaper.
that's not something I
But
thought about. Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it was a substantial amount cheaper. And don't get
Mm-hmm.
me wrong, like right now, I mean, I got buddies that bring me over carcasses after they've cleaned a deer or whatever, and
Right.
I feed that to my dogs. But it's six of one, half dozen of the other. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that you can go either way. Uh, for me, at this point, after doing it for a year, I prefer kibble
Mm-hmm.
over raw. Um, if you ever want to put a lot of weight on a dog fast, you get some of that raw, and it'll put the weight on them like
Yeah.
substantially in a very quick time frame. Like my routine normally starts out getting up, checking everything, and then I mean, depending on if it's a day I'm able to hunt or not, um, getting the dogs that I want to take hunting and getting them ready to go. Uh, I do not feed in the morning. I always feed
Okay.
in the evening.
Okay.
So I mean, if it's a hunt day, we go out and go hunting or run dogs in the yard, whatever it may be. And then I go once I get back. We feed about 4:30 in the afternoon. Once we've fed for the day, and make sure everybody's got bed and everybody's got water. That water also in the wintertime obviously is checked every morning. I mean, to
Mhm.
make sure it's not ice and they can get to the water.
Mhm.
In the summertime, it's obviously make sure they got water. Everything, water to me is the a bigger factor than the food. Because I
Okay.
mean, dog without water goes down fast. So water is definite every day, all the time. And then at night, I mean, we make sure that in the wintertime, make sure them things got bedding. I mean, up here it gets
Mhm.
cold. They got to have that bedding.
Mhm.
Keep them bedded down good, and they never lose any weight.
Mhm.
Where a lot of dogs shiver off a lot of weight every night, and the reason they shivering that weight off is because they don't have that bedding.
Right.
And when I say bedding, I'm not talking towels or blankets or any of that nice stuff. I'm talking straw. You got to
Right.
get straw, and cedar chips don't do the same thing. Hay doesn't do the same thing. Straw is hollow. It's an insulator. You put it in with them dogs, the body heat gets into that straw warms up, and they keep that heat.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
thing is with the cedar chips is okay, they're great for the summertime, but they ain't holding no heat in the wintertime. I mean, I don't think they don't have a thin coat like a Boston Terrier has.
Okay.
They have a
Oh.
thicker coat than that. They have more of a bulldog coat of hair. Not necessarily English bulldog coat, but
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
because English bulldogs have a real thick coat.
Yep.
And Boston Terriers it's like bristly,
Uh-huh.
short hair. The old Bostons, I mean, they don't have a coat like that. They have a coat more like it's hard for me to explain. It's about halfway in between, I guess.
Okay.
They have a coat thick enough that they're not as exposed as a Boston Terrier would be.
Okay.
And they're not as frail, I mean, bone wise and
Yeah.
mass and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I've had them that people were like, that doesn't even look like a bulldog. But you know what? It
Mhm.
come off of two bulldogs, and I'm going to breed it to a bulldog. Well, the one that has the longer muzzle, I'm going to take to a shorter nosed male.
Mhm.
And a longer nosed male, I'm going to take to a shorter nosed female.
Mhm.
And that got to create that happy medium.
Right.
But you never want to go. eh, I've done it a couple of times, but you don't all very rarely will I go short nose to short nose
Mhm.
because I don't want to get that part where the nose gets so short that they have the breathing issues.
Mhm.
I,
Right.
it's a like I said, happy. You got to go for that happy medium of having some muzzle, but not necessarily. And I'll be honest, one of my favorite dogs ever was that Trinity dog I was talking about. She had a
Mhm.
long nose. I mean, she had a snipey long nose, but I'm telling you, man, that dog was tough.
She had the bulldog in her though, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
She was tough, and there wasn't nothing in the world she wouldn't catch, buddy.
Wow.
And
That's
she was
awesome.
100% non-dog aggressive. And I don't get that very often. I'm gonna be straight with anybody, but
Mhm. One.
if I can cut one loose and I can work a female with another female, that's a good dog right there, buddy. And it's very rare, but I mean, obviously, I'm shooting for that non-dog aggression. If I can get that non-dog aggressive dog, that dog has a lot more potential than a dog that has that dog aggression.
Yeah. For
And it's less common to get that non-dog aggression in males just because the males always think they have something to prove, just like me and you. I
Yeah.
mean, males always think they got to prove something to somebody,
I know. Yeah. Mm.
and that's where that's it's just rare in a male dog. I mean, I got a couple male dogs that I would say are fairly non-dog aggressive, but I wouldn't want to go so far as saying they are non-dog aggressive.
Mhm.